Australia's biodiversity is being threatened. In New South Wales, habitat loss is one of the greatest threats to nearly 1,000 threatened species of flora and fauna, including nearly 60% of mammals. Biodiversity offsetting is compensating the loss of habitat during a development with biodiversity protection in an approved offset site. For example, if this developer needs to clear land for his development, such as habitat for this threatened species, he is allowed to, providing he puts protections in place for a like-for-like area of habitat as compensation. The New South Wales Government's offsets policy document, which I rated 2.5 credibility, promotes the government's view without giving the whole picture and contains many appeal flaws. Some of the guidelines show its aim to meet ecological goals, such as environmental impacts must be avoided or minimised, and offsets must be a last resort. When offsets are used, they must be enduring, enforceable, and auditable. The policy balances its ESD goals in that 1. Developments can create jobs while meeting environmental responsibilities. 2. Society's confidence is ensured, as developers are held accountable to managing environmental impacts. And 3. Ecological impact is avoided or minimised. This sounds reasonable, but is it really? Bio-offsetting came to my attention in Peter Hannam's Sydney Morning Herald article. While presenting different viewpoints, it was heavily weighted against offsetting, so I could only rate it 3.9 for credibility. It had a slight flaw of inappropriate appeal to emotions, quoting, "Offsets are letting developers kill threatened species." Hannam's article came off the back of a report called Paradise Lost by the Nature Conservation Council, which, while biased against bio-offsets, studied various New South Wales offsets and was backed up by credible scientific research. It concluded that the offsets policy is not protecting high conservation areas, doesn't include long-term guarantees, and found offset sites aren't strictly required to contain like-for-like habitat. With so little information in support of biodiversity offsetting, and with the New South Wales Government and Minerals Council backing the policy, where are the positive outcomes? And surely they could have been explored in Hannam's article. A highly credible source I found in my investigation, which offered arguments for both sides of the bio-offsetting issue, was Dr. Malika Viraswamy's 2014 paper, an environmental scientist involved in sustainable mining. She recognises the economic and social need for bio-offsetting to work, but that it needs to be science-based, long-term, and fully encompass environmental needs. The New South Wales Government engaged Professor Martine Maron, ecologist and bio-offsets expert, to review their offsets program. Hannam's article provided credible evidence that her review, which could only be obtained under Freedom of Information laws, had concluded the offsets policy oversimplified biodiversity conservation and risked negative outcomes for endangered species. But I found other research supporting Maron's review, such as from Professor David Lindenmayer of ANU, who studied the effectiveness of an offset program involving installation of nest boxes in nearby woodland to offset the vast land clearing to widen the Hume Highway west of Canberra. His highly credible article explained that the threatened target species were not using the nest boxes. The Nature Conservation Council study of the Maules Creek coal mine offset program found the site was not like-for-like habitat to support the 36 threatened species impacted by the mine. The proponent, Whitehaven Coal, did surveys of the offset areas too, but didn't make them available, so I was unable to verify their findings. I also found a credible journal article by a natural resources expert describing offsetting as carving up biodiversity into measurable units separated from their ecological settings. So is the government's one-size-fits-all approach failing our threatened species? Weighing up the various scientific studies and considering Maron's policy review, I ask, what could sustainable bio-offsetting look like? Impacts must be minimised if developments go ahead, and only like-for-like habitat should be used, ensuring absolute protection for high conservation areas. Public awareness of impacts will ensure social confidence in how major projects are environmentally managed. Economic opportunities in responsible development can include jobs for the life of the development and in the future to maintain bio-offset sites. All of these goals could ensure a fair share of resources for future generations. Bio-offsetting seems okay in concept, but its practice is not well maintained to protect our threatened species. From all the evidence, I don't think current bio-offsets are helping threatened species at all, confirming my initial thoughts from Hannam's article. But if policy is changed to consider dynamics of ecosystems long term, perhaps it can fulfill ecologically sustainable development goals.